What we're going to do here is open this up to any questions you may have. It's going to be kind of a discussion type of thing. We're winging it here, guys. Okay? Once upon a time, I was a musician, so you learn improvisation. You got to make it up as you go sometimes, and we're going to do that. We've been kind of doing that all day here, but I do have, because I have the microphone, I have got some questions that I thought of as Kathy was delivering that beautiful message. And the one thing she talked about was, and finished with, was love, right? It is the most powerful thing there is. That's the gift that our Creator gave us, with love. And that's where, if we use love, and if we're always moving in a place of love, then fear can't even be a part of our being, right? Our consciousness, our state of mind, how we are in the world. So my question is, with love, how do we move forward in this wartime environment that we're in today? How do we do this? How do we practice love when we've got this divisiveness, right? They're driving wedges all the time, aren't they? I mean, just look what happened in the last couple days ago, right? And people have gone crazy, have they not? With what happened with Charlie Kirk. And it's this right-left, right? Conservative, liberal, Muslim, Jew, Catholic, Christian, all these different descriptions that they've given us. But at the end of the day, we're human. And we are all, whether you want to admit it or not, doesn't matter what color of skin, what faith, what gender, we all share the same DNA. Right? So I'm just curious, and please, whoever wants to answer that or try to answer that one.
I'll give it to Kathy right after. I guess I think of this scripture in John 15. It said, if a man remains in me and I in him, you will bear much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. And so I think, God is love. So the more we abide in him and get wisdom from him, as Kathy said, wisdom is so powerful. And if we live in that wisdom and that love, abiding in God and in Christ, he will empower us to do the things that we need to do.
Let's consider love for the children. It should unite the whole world, overcome all wars. We've got children to be protecting, and it begins with us. When we live the love we are, we're going to be able to be strong enough and effective in protecting them. They can't wait for this system to clean up. It's up to us. So, that's one way we can use love to make all the difference in the world. It's the most powerful force. When we align with the divine within, we're aligning with love.
I also think that left, right, center, doesn't matter where you're at, we all have children, and that's what's going to pull us together. So, and I feel like even if your neighbor doesn't align with you politically, we have more in common than they want us to believe, right? So your neighbor wants the best for their child. They want the best education for their child as well. So if you can find that common ground, that's how you're going to pull it all together. And it's up to us. Kathy's right. We just need to stand up. I don't know if you've ever seen that meme where it has a table with the game on top and all the elites are sitting around the table and all the people are kneeling underneath and holding the table up. As soon as we stand up, the game is over. You have to stand up. You can't come here and get entertained today. This isn't about coming here and getting entertained. You have to get engaged. So you have to take something back from here and do something with that. It's up to you to learn to take what you learned today and do something with that. Even if it's putting a sticker on the back of your car so you start a conversation with somebody, send them to one of our websites. Let them know how they can help and get engaged. But that's the biggest thing, I think, is loving your neighbor as you love yourself, right? That is the golden rule, isn't it? And it doesn't matter how they align politically, doesn't matter what they say that's negative against you, always give your answer back in love and let them know that they mean as much to you as you mean to yourself.
I have a video on my website that was done from a doctor in the 80s at UCLA, and I can't remember her name now, but it's a video that there's a dye that they could use, and they could see the vibrations, and they could measure. And when you're hearing that love is the strongest force in the universe, and the strongest force we know of, they actually could measure that. And that dye was made above top secret. You can't measure that anymore. But in the 80s, it was legal, and there's a research study that went on. So science showed it. It's really, really awesome.
Thank you. I've got one more, and then I'm going to, you guys, I will take some questions, obviously, from people in the audience. So we heard Major Pray there first thing this morning talk about, he felt like, the federal government has been captured, and I don't really disagree with that. I don't think that we can get that back based on everything that I'm seeing and I have been seeing for a long time, and a lot of people, and the information that we gather and whatnot. And I talked a little bit about, the doctrine of the lesser magistrate, which is we are the lesser magistrate and they are all accountable to us. So we have to take back our own neighborhoods first, our own towns, our school boards, our county level, and then the states. Let's just work from there to the state level right now. We have to get the state to say no to the Fed. No, we don't want your money, because that's how they have our state representatives and our governors. Oh, we're going to cut off the money if you don't do this, right? Then we have to tell the counties, because the state's doing this right now to us. Sorry, Mark, I'm not picking on you, brother. The states are trying to tell the counties what to do. I work very closely with our county supervisors. They don't want Des Moines telling them what to do. But guess what? What is it? Anybody got it? What is it they use?
Money with strings attached.
Money. It's always money, right? So if we could find a way to operate at the town, school, get out of the public education system entirely, dismantle the school days, teachers' unions, etc. But if we can figure out how to operate without that money, right? We don't need them anymore. We don't need them anymore. So, but the question I have is, I'm sorry, they know.
Can I say something about that
give me a
real
microphone.
quick? Can I say something about that
Please.
real quick? So in Illinois, we're trying to amend the current grooming law, right? And so it's been sitting in committee for 2 years, and they've been told to stand down and not call it for vote. Our governor is J.B. Pritzker. So the more you know and educate yourself, so J.B. Pritzker's cousin, Tom Pritzker, and his son, you're in Jeffrey Epstein's black book under 13 different phone numbers on page 45. So who told them to stand down on this, right? And once we start pushing back and calling these people out, that's what gives you the power to take it back. So I am actually meeting with my local county next week, and I'm asking them to do a resolution to get behind Andrew's law in Illinois. And I'm going to go county by county to get a resolution put in place and start putting pressure on these people. That's how we do it. You go back and you go county by county by county, and you do whatever you got to do to make this stuff go forward. But that's what he's talking about. Local action will have national impact, that General Flynn always says, right?
Yes. How many people know who their city council members and county board of supervisors are? Oh, good. That's a lot more than I thought. So I like to remind people in my own county and everyone out there to really pay attention to what's happening there, because that's where the top-down, trickle-down effect happens. So, for example, I was pursuing surveillance cameras that were coming in. You go to city council, you see the county board of supervisors agenda, you can see what's coming down the pipeline. So get involved there if you haven't yet. Those are important. I didn't mention, I ran for county supervisor. I lost horribly. I had no experience, but I decided I had to try something different. And I went out there and I had the debates, and I didn't fundraise a dime. I made my own signs. Then I paid for my about 12 signs finally to be professionally done. But I wanted it to be word of mouth, grassroots, so people that knew what I stood for could get the word out. And but that said, that got the conversation going. And of course, my Doxers article circulated. But what ended up happening was people learned more about the things I cared about. So eventually, I did finally get nominated onto my local air pollution Air Pollution Control District Hearing Board, which is 5 members of the public, an attorney, a medical professional, engineer, and 2 members of the public. And the man I ran against, because we kept an amicable relationship, I didn't want to fight, he was the one who made the recommendation that I get approved to the board, and so I was selected. Now, when I was appointed, the attorney dropped out. He was working out of he was working long distance from San Francisco, so we are still out of compliance. There have been no meetings. I can't contact anybody until they are in compliance. So they've really dragged it out. But that is a positive thing. So if you can get involved on the local level, that would be amazing. Go for the committees, the local boards, the school boards. You know, any way you can get involved is a way to keep tabs on. And that's all I have to say there.
Oh, it's perfect. So the question that I get to, so we've heard, Major Prather talk about, our President Trump regarding Israel and whatnot. We've heard Kathy talk about her feelings towards President Trump. The question I have is, how do we get him back? If that's true, there's a lot of indications, right, that he's distracted. We know there's so much power he's being pulled in many directions. And we all felt, I think, the same way in 2016 when we got up the next morning and we're like, what? He beat the Clinton machine? Everybody was thinking, yeah, that was divine intervention without a doubt. We all know what happened in 2020. But now we're in 2025 and we're coming up on midterms, right? But how do we, and this is just a question for you guys, and it's not an easy answer, how do we get him back? How do we feel good about our president again? Because a lot of us right now are like, what's going on?
Oh, I'm not sure I should say anything further about the president, but I was thinking how the local action has national impact, has global impact, and if we get this globalist agenda and defund them, then that gives the power back to the people, and it's a simple thing. Defund the New World Order, stop child sex trafficking. That's something we all can do.
For what it's worth, I'm just going to say it. At some point, we have to start thinking about how we starve the beast. And if they're not responding to our demands, then we have to stop funding them. And that's not an easy one overnight solution. I'm just saying we have to start thinking about ways that we pull out. So that's why food sovereignty, getting tight with your community members and figuring out a way to get out of that government theft is all it is. So you demand that they listen, and we do it in great numbers, and when they don't do the bidding of the people, you cut them off. And that's the most peaceful way I can think of just shutting that system down. I don't know about getting anybody back, but I had to say it for what it's worth.
So how many of you knew about Palantir before Trump started talking about it? Exactly. I think he's putting some of this stuff out in the forefront to wake people up, to be like, hey, do you guys realize that this is going on? So that people can start standing up and pushing back. We don't want that, right? We don't want that. We don't want that other thing. We wouldn't know about these things unless he's bringing them to the forefront and telling people about them. The other thing is, too, is realizing that this is a $352 billion plus year industry, child sex trafficking and human trafficking. It's funding everything they do. It funds the election fraud. It funds the medical fraud. It funds it all. This is why they hate him so much. Executive Order 13818, which was written back in his last administration, actually seizes the assets of those who are convicted of trafficking. So if you start seizing assets of people, they're going to start hating you, right? So now think about this. He got Ghislaine Maxwell convicted, so her assets have been seized. You might want to go start looking at the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and look at some of their property that's been sold over the last few years. And you tell me if maybe he hasn't seized some of their assets and some of these people are already going down, right? So this is how you defund them as well, is you educate people about what's going on. How many of you knew about the World Economic Forum before today? How many of you think that your county board members know about the World Economic Forum? So I also, 2 years ago, went to my county board, talked to them about the World Economic Forum, and I kept going. We had a 3-minute, right? You get a 3-minute public comment. I was one of 4 people in there. I kept going for 12 minutes, and I let them know about the World Economic Forum and how it all ties into child sex trafficking, how they want to do age gap love and minor attracted people, and this is all coming down from Klaus Schwab. Educate your board members, educate your council members. They have no idea that this is an agenda. They're just sitting there thinking that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they have no idea what's going on past their county or past their town. And help them.
One thing that's going on that has been going on for centuries is we have a power structure or a global power struggle on control of the global monetary system and the trade routes and the resources. And the blackmail system is their controlling element for all of that. Trump knows that, and I don't know, I'm not going to tell you I know exactly where he lands because I don't, but I can tell you that it's pretty clear that he knows the financial system's pretty darn important. The resources are pretty darn important. It's important for us to start to look at what's going on with the BRICS, what's going on with trade routes, what's going on with the financial system. So Trump, while he might have a lot of power, if that list of all those companies that were in the top 10, if you actually looked at the top 25 or top 30, almost all of them are U.S. companies. Trump has, or our country is pretty powerful because we're the base of the financial system. The financial system is in the midst of changing. It maybe started changing in 1971, which is what I got to in the slide. So why is he coming across differently? It's because there's a lot at stake right now. Bottom line.
Perfect. I'm gonna kick it out. Does anybody else want to talk to that?
I'm just going to hit it from the trafficking point of view that Trump is the only president in history to help fight human trafficking verbally with laws, executive orders. He's the only one. So what we have to look at is what is he doing, and it's always been about the children. All of us have been a child, so we have a heart for children. Most of us are parents, so you have a heart for children. Trump knows that the unity of this country comes from defending the children. And so that's why that was some of his very first executive orders when he got into office, was against human trafficking. So if we just take a big step look at that and know that there are other things happening in place, yes, we got to get to the grassroots level, but we as individuals, we cannot possibly see everything happening behind the scene. So you use prayers, you use discernment, and you focus on what we can do to make a difference individually.
Well said. So I'm gonna come out with this for questions. One comment I have is I'm gonna walk right over here first, is we cannot let the Epstein conversation get pushed aside. We cannot allow it. It was not a Democratic psyop. I'm not buying it, don't care. We can't let it go. You have a question right here?
I don't want to steal the show because you're the speakers, but I want to reiterate some of the things that I heard and I sat patiently to listen through. Disclosure is what we are needing right now because everybody knows it's taking too long. The night of January 6th, I couldn't sleep. I discovered somebody posted a link to the audio version of Maria Zack explaining how the election was stole. The next day, I found the video version. It was on America Can We Talk with Debbie Gregarios. And basically she explains how the servers were used, the Leonardo satellites, and the money from da-da-da. So anyway, we do need to work locally and county level and meet the good military in the middle. Because yes, the Epstein stuff is real, and I think it's being used right now as leverage. If the bad guys can use it to blackmail and bribe, don't you think that the good military can also? Trump has said central casting several times, and if you listen closely, they're giving clues. You can go to Rumble, you can type in military roundtable, and there's a group of 5 military men who are giving hints once a month. The movie industry is connected to P. Diddy. We know about the other victim, Allie Carter. Her last name is Carter. P. Diddy's last name is Sean Carter. Okay? So what did the movie industry do? They made the movie Made in America, where they showed Tom Cruise trafficking drugs, and then what did Arkansas do? Allegedly, I say allegedly a lot, because we don't know what's real anymore. They named an airport after the Clintons. Duh. Okay. Art in embassies, allegedly, they can traffic kids through they don't have to go through the ports if they're moving art. Let's see, quickly. Somebody said something about the Leos in the academy, and one of our county group members mentioned we need to get them to teach Constitution when they go down to, okay, and somebody mentioned crimes against humanity. Water. This is the only planet that we know of with so much water, and the data centers and the CO2 stuff is going to gobble up a lot of water. BBB, Build Back Better, in lowercase is 666, and we all know that they use their numbers quite well. Google is, the little icon down at the bottom is Chrome, and they got a microprocessor named Adreno, if you look that up. Cat, I have 2 photos taken over my house in November of 2023 with 4 exact lines from the chemtrails going forward. And I might even have the video of you, if it's on the internet, going to talk to one of those pilots. Because that's what I do. I have 4 pages of links from doctors, scientists, people who were testing the jabs on 2 pieces of paper, front and back. If anybody wants them, I offered them on social media, and over 100 persons accepted, and I became friends with several people. I'd go into...
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm going to have to do this. I love everything that you're saying, but out of respect for everybody that came here today and sat for as long as they did.
Yep, thank you.
Now is the time for questions, but I do love everything you're saying. Thank you.
Is there anything out of all that you'd like to talk to of what she said? Was there anything that needs to be?
It's all good information. I think we were waiting for questions out here.
Okay, so we got to
there was a
keep it to a
specific-
questions, not like commentary.
Thank you for, yeah.
If I can ask 3 questions of 3 different people. First for Kat, is there a detox that you recommend for the aluminum or other toxins?
This has been an interesting journey for me. I used to be a big supplement taker, 2020 and on. My shelves were lined with supplements because I thought that's the way to be healthy. You know where I am today? I'm not on any pharmaceuticals, and I don't take any supplements. I try to get everything that I need from locally grown and sourced foods. I'm not militant. We still go out to dinners and restaurants on occasion, but I think rest, detox baths like Epsom salts, and there's, different formulas, but I love herbal teas, getting your nutrients from food, and I drink distilled water, and I use Redmond's salt. And I get sunshine, and I laugh, and I make up songs, and I'm doing great. So I don't have to spend a dime. It's a very affordable healthcare program.
Thank you.
Sweat and skin brushing is really something you can do too. Now, there are people out there that have more severe symptoms of there are different remedies out there you could look for to treat your particular symptoms, but I don't take anything anymore, and I love saying that. I eat raw garlic, and I drink raw milk.
Okay, thank you.
Which is fun for everybody up here.
For Sarah, I recently went to my doctor's appointment, and they asked me to do like a fingerprint thing to register. And is that part of like their data collecting, and can I refuse that? What should I say to my doctor? I'm not comfortable with that.
Tell them no, and see if there's another doctor if they won't let you do it.
Well, it's the clinic at the registration desk, yeah.
Everything they do, they track you, and if it makes you feel uncomfortable, say no and find another doctor.
Okay. Okay, and then for Kathy, the only reference that I have for the MK Ultra is like, who is Jason Bourne? Is that something real, or what can you tell me about those type? Is that where they're training assassins and then a code word is said that turns them on? Is any of that real? What do you know about that?
There's so many sub-projects of MK Ultra. There's a lot of research out there, a lot of truth coming to light, and a lot of survivors who are coming forward right now. And also in December of 2024, right at the end of December, the MK Ultra files were finally declassified. It was lost to a lot of other news and it wasn't really in mainstream, but they're right there available for everyone. The MK Ultra files that are not redacted are available for anyone to research now.
In my journey and everyone here as we are waking up, I've had to metabolize the scope of what I'm finding out. I've known a lot for many years, but almost every day it gets bigger and bigger. And I have some recovered memories from alien abductions, for lack of a better word. And that's kind of where this comes from, is that the size of the industry of human trafficking, and I don't know if, it says $1.5 billion on the internet, and I don't know if that actually includes the adrenochrome, the spin-off products, the organ harvesting, etc. But it seems to me that the numbers are so large that a group of elites on Earth could actually be putting out what must be $1 trillion a year to keep their party going. And so I'm wondering, is there any thought of a larger market that the trafficking and adrenochrome, etc., isn't being fueled by some larger market than we're actually considering?
That's a big question. Anybody want to tackle that?
It's more Patsy, go ahead if you were going to talk. Yeah, I hear you, and I think there's a lot of people talking about that. There has been some movies on it, and I know people who truly believe that we are a sub-market of a larger market, but does anybody have any, maybe somebody in the audience has any evidence of it, but the remote viewers, which I fundamentally believe that remote viewing is a real science, and quantum physics will eventually be able to explain it. Talk about it a lot. So not necessarily from an economic standpoint, though.
Oh.
Well, no, that's very right. But he was getting into.
I think what he's referring to is there are other beings that are harvesting us. That's what he's getting at. Underground, whatever. There's a lot of that out on the internet that you can go look into. I don't know any proof of that, but other than just researching some of that, just knowing that it's a possibility, I guess.
I just want to say there's so much power in your ability to say you don't consent, right? And if you're speaking that every day and you're saying, I want no part of that. Instead of, if you see the lines in the sky, you might make a decision to stay in for a few hours. You won't do physical activities outside. But also just remember that your body and your mind are incredibly powerful. And what you don't allow in, I think, has a harder time of getting in. I know that I've heard from a lot of people that we've all been infected with this and that. And we're all, I don't necessarily believe that's true for everybody. And I think power of the mind and refusing to let it impact you and keeping it out, there's a lot to be said for that.
I
question over here.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Kathy, did you ever hear anything like, did you see anything with adrenochrome or that kind of thing? Or was that anything that was part of you?
Absolutely.
Oh, my
Absolutely,
goodness.
I did. I saw the groundwork for adrenochrome in Louisiana back in 1977 when a cult serial killer, CIA assassin Wayne Cox was aligned with Roger Clinton, who was Bill Clinton's brother, and they were using occultism, Satanism, to extract the traumatized blood of victims, which was the precursor to adrenochrome, and it was being sold on the market by Hillary Clinton through Bill Clinton's already established Mina cocaine operations. So she was on the groundwork of the whole adrenochrome operation from the get-go, and it's something that I'm acutely aware of because my tortured blood was used in that situation. So that is in my testimony.
Okay, we got a question over here.
Yes, my name is Rich from Dubuque, and I get involved with a small reclaiming the Republic group that's nationwide, and just trying to inform everybody, Reclaiming the Republic, and they have call-ins on Wednesday at 10 in the morning Central Time and 5:30 Central Time. The issue is the First Amendment, religion, speech, assembly. There's another one, but the fifth one is the right to redress grievances against the government via a petition. Apparently, we haven't hardly ever done that. I think maybe the Magna Carta dealt with some of that. There's a couple of things. I'm just kind of learning it. I just want to try to inform everybody that, and that's the big focus, including they have already some petitions put together, including one of them is the CO2 pipeline business. So, trying to get people to know how the Constitution. They've also identified an annotated Constitution and a colored Constitution, which are distortions of our Constitution, which our country kind of runs by a little bit. So just trying to help everyone, including Mike back here. Mike Lacoste is the one that helped me in your group here, and he ran the Prevent the Invasion a year and a half ago, but because the county, the local people need to get behind everybody so that it works. It's a 75-pager, Why Counties Matter. So,
thank you. Thank you. We got a question right over here. What was the name of your group again? It's Reclaiming the Republic is the name. Reclaiming the Republic.
Okay, that's what.
Yeah, we have to have this. We got to keep it to one question. You know, commentary and stuff like that. Okay, back here. Otherwise, we could be here all night, and we really want them to answer questions.
So this one is a bit personal, but it's also the community that I'm living in presently for the last few years over in Fairfield, Iowa. There's some interesting information coming out these days through a group called Conversations in the Hive, which is specifically about the Transcendental Meditation Organization, possibly, it is an NGO. There are ties to the CIA previously through the analysis and assessment of the Gateway process in particular, which pertains to the MK Ultra programming. So just if anyone has any information on that, on the Transcendental Meditation Organization and some of the more shadowy or clandestine dealings that are coming out, any personal information, and just that. So.
Kathy, do you have anything on that as far as transcendental meditation? I'm very familiar with the phrase, but that goes like way back.
There's everything's been infiltrated in so many ways. So anytime that you give your subconscious mind over to someone whether it's in a meditative environment or through so-called hypnotherapy. It's an invasion on the brain, and the brain responds to that like it's a trauma, and it will be shutting down neuron pathways. So if someone else is directing it and invading the brain, invading the subconscious, then it's a problem. You know, that's the way to look at it. And that can happen in cult religion. It can happen in occult religion. It can happen in the advertisements on TV. It can happen anywhere. So we just need to understand how our brains respond to repetitive manipulation and invasive subconscious manipulation.
Okay, questions back here, okay. Remember now, questions, please. That would be really good. I know where you're going.
With the hypnotherapy, they do use that in treatment for healthcare, is that right? For trauma-based people? Like self-hypnosis therapy?
Hypno-sleep therapy?
Self-hypnosis. Self-hypnosis. They use that in the psychotherapy for trauma.
I think she's referring to, using hypnotherapy, as a way of healing people, who have gone through traumas, Kathy, do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, when someone is traumatized, they're already in a hypnotic state. They're in a trance, and that they need to be dehypnotized. So if someone is, just reflecting in their own subconscious, then they need to pick up a pen and paper and start writing out what they find, because that will bring it to the conscious mind. We're wanting to dehypnotize. That's what waking up from mind control is about.
Good afternoon. Thank you, panel, for what you did today. It was incredible. I have a question about Operation Warp Speed. And last year, I believe there was a documentary done on Operation Warp Speed and how Trump touted warp speed and so forth. And the documentary essentially says that Trump pushed Operation Warp Speed to deter the nation from having FEMA camps and putting people in FEMA camps. So I was wondering if you could comment on that.
Anybody want to tackle that one?
Sure. So Operation Warp Speed, I think the reason he touts it so much is because normally it takes at least 5 to 10 years for a vaccine to come out, right? So their initial plan was going to be 8 years of Obama, 8 years of Hillary. Trump interrupted their plan. And during the Hillary administration, I believe they were going to actually push out COVID, push out the vaccines. They were going to lock us down for that 5 to 10 years until they could get that vaccine approved. We were going to become dependent upon the government. We were going to become a socialized government, communist government, in a matter of weeks, months. So the other thing that happened, Dr. Jane Ruby actually tested a lot of the vaccines, and they determined that the very first, I'm going to call it a bioweapon, that was put out was actually 70% of those were saline. Because he made them push it out so quickly, it actually saved millions of lives. That's what he's referring to, is that he saved millions of lives because they weren't the actual bioweapon. The second shot was the kill shot. So once people started waking up to some of this stuff, and then also Dr. Jane Ruby also looked into some of the vaccines that were put out and found that many of the lot numbers that were the most detrimental went to red states. So they were trying to take out the Christian conservatives. You have to remember that these people are not godly, right? And they want to take us out. They want to take out as many Christians as they can. So if you guys follow anything with Dr. Ardis, and if you're looking for a good detox, go to thedrardisshow.com. He has all sorts of stuff on there for detox. So Dr. Ardis talks about how they've been putting venoms in our vaccines since the 60s. He brings all the receipts about that. And if you go back to the garden, right, so the Garden of Eden, you have the serpent and the snake, and they're trying to use the serpent to kill us. So they're putting venoms in our vaccines to take us out. And then he starts talking about nicotine. So the venoms go into your nicotine receptors. We have nicotine receptors on every cell of our body. So why would God give us something bad for us? They've lied to us about nicotine, right? So you start taking nicotine, it pushes all of that gunk out. That's why you feel so horrible when you take nicotine. It's not that you're going to become addicted to it. So just think about some of those things in a bigger scale. That's really what's going on with some of this stuff. And he tells us, President Trump tells us a lot when he's speaking about really what the plan is. And he's talked about a vaccine and that he says he took the vaccine, right? So he talked about hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin 26 times during COVID. It actually fit the definition of a vaccine at the time until they changed the definition of the vaccine to fit the bioweapon. So I think that's really what he's talking about when he says that Operation Warp Speed saved millions of lives. That's what he's referring to. You still have free will, right? People had free will to take that vaccine if they wanted to. That's what this is all about, is free will and taking back your rights and what you want to do what's best for you. No one should be telling you or mandating anything on you medically that you don't agree with. So that's what this is about. If you want to take a vaccine, take a vaccine. You want to put a mask on, put a mask on. Don't make me do it. And I'm going to go back to one of your other questions about all of the bio stuff that they're doing with us. When you go to the airport, how many of you flew here? How many of you went up to that TSA and had your picture taken? You do not have to take it. You can refuse it. Do not even stand in front of it. Stand off to the side. Tell them right away, I refuse to take the picture. They're like, okay. They look at your stuff. They move you on. How many of you go through the scanners? Don't go through the scanners either. Ask for a pat down. Can you imagine if everybody in the airport asked for a pat down? We would clog the entire system. Everybody needs to stop going through the scanners.
It's called
Say
resistance.
no.
We've been
Take
talking about that
your
all day.
liberties back.
Right.
I want to answer that one a little bit. I had an interview with Dr. Latipo, the Surgeon General of Florida, just this past week, and we talk about Operation Warp Speed. We look at it from all different directions. I think it's important to be informed. To be informed, we have to make sure that we don't assume anything about anyone, and that to take our free agency back and our liberty back, we need to not make assumptions that we know the intent of somebody and what's really happening. We have to look at what the facts are. And I think that's important because that gets back to what Jeffrey Prather said about understanding the battlefield. And so if you want to look at, that's a really good conversation that we had where we dissected a bunch of aspects of it, because not everything is pretty about warp speed. And there are some questions. And there's some questions about putting forward mRNA vaccines, now, and the support of mRNA vaccines by our current administration, including Trump. So I just think we need to have our eyes open and not assume that our guy has everything we want him to have. And we hold everybody accountable for pushing back even against our own party. Because we don't agree with everything that just because they have an R or a D by their name, you're not going to agree with everything. So you need to push back even against your own people.
Yeah, that's wise, I think, to be able to do that. I've got a question here, but I am going to make a shameless plug regarding Team Iowa. We don't just do what we're doing here today and human trafficking and working to protect our land, but we do have a certified homeopath on our team, and we also spend a lot of time in health and wellness and balance and mind, body, spirit, all those things. We work on a lot of different things. We're working on training up everybody on our team how to protect themselves, whether it be with a weapon or self-defense. I also want to plug shamelessly for Sarah. She's got some products that she does promote on her webcast. One of them is Masterpiece, which I think is a detox product, right? I happen to have it. And then she's got another product, which I'll mention just briefly, for weight loss. There's this stuff out there that Ozempic, I think it's called, right? Bad stuff, really bad stuff. She's got a product that is actually not, and it actually works. And I can tell you this only because somebody really important in my life is using it and has lost like 12 pounds relatively quickly and safely. And I'm like looking at, I'm not going to tell you who it is because she'll kill me. But anyway, if you want to talk to Sarah about that afterwards, please do. I do owe you the microphone, don't I? Real quick.
So, quick questions. I travel across the United States, which you all know, and a lot of people ask on the channel, and they want me to ask any of you, how do we trust a human trafficking group if they say, like, I want to get involved with human trafficking? Well, we're 501c3, and then you find out that they're involved. And where I live, there are two people putting on these they're rivals. They charge $500, $75 for tickets, but it's not humanity. I would rather bring, and I've already talked to a couple of you, come to where I live and do a free seminar. And of course, like what Stacy does, which is one reason why I came here today and to see Kathy and meet everybody, but is to do it for humanity. When Stacy told me that, I'm like, I'm there. I drove 12 hours, but you don't find this anywhere. Everyone's charging. Secondly, Kathy, might be a question for you. All these children are being rescued. We're hearing about the military. Where are they going? A lot of people are wondering, and people are asking me, please ask Kathy or ask the panel or someone. I have faith more than most people, but we don't know. And we hear people, but Kathy, you have made my skin, like, what I mean, like get cold, like things you say. And you are an angel. And I think people need to know. No one can answer the question. So, sorry to throw it all in there, but I would love to know for humanity who to trust to get involved, because I have to take all this information and expose it to my channel in a good way. But it's my mouth, it's my voice, and coming from you all. So, sorry. Yes.
I would say trust yourself, and trust your discernment. And that's going to take knowing your own truth and remembering who you are, why you're here, and then take it from there. And then open your eyes and get out in your community, because people are helping people. I am so busy right now because of all the people who are opening safe houses for these rescued, trafficked children. We can't put them in the Child Protective Services system. This administration's acutely aware of that, and they can't clean the system up fast enough. The children cannot wait. It's up to us. Those safe houses are opening, and because I have been healed for over 35 years, my testimony has been the same because I cannot be triggered. I'm one of the only ones that has had the kind of healing capability because I healed from within myself with using what we're all blessed with inside, and I was reminded of that birthright information, and I didn't have outside therapy. So because of that, that information is wanted everywhere. It was buried under national security. Now it's right there in PTSD Time to Heal. It's for everybody. It's posted on my website. Everyone can apply it to themselves and reclaim their free thought, even if they've just been manipulated by the media or indoctrinated in the school system, been trafficked or suffered MK Ultra, whatever it is. But the fact is that has given me a large voice for empowering people to effectively help the children help themselves once they're in a safe environment. That's what they need most of all, and then they need good nutrition. So there's always gardens involved, there's equine therapy, there's animal therapy, there's getting out in nature, reacclimating to the base things. These are happening everywhere. These safe houses are opening, and there's a great effort that's ongoing for making sure they don't go into the corrupted system. So it's good to see and good to know, and it takes daring to see. Get involved.
I can tell you, I've done some research. I don't like, some of the stuff gets so dark that it doesn't, it's like, God, do people really, you don't even want to know. We're in an economy. Everything's a product. And just like a cow, they use every aspect of that cow's body for some kind of product and making money and profit. In front of, yep. Every single aspect of that child's body, including their organs and their bones and everything, can be turned into a product.
I don't know if there's an answer to that right now. It's a very valid question.
I think they're going back into child protective services.
We do not have in the private sector the infrastructure right now to handle 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 children. I mean, that's the truth. So, I don't know. It's a good question, but I don't know that we have an answer for it.
Those are the questions we need to also ask the reporters of these stories as well.
Yep, I got a question. We're gonna close.
Steve, I was going to say one thing here.
Yeah, go ahead.
To answer a question about who do you trust when it comes to human trafficking. The biggest thing, like what Kathy said, is you got to trust yourself, use that discernment button big time, because there is a lot of false information. I've run into so many people. One of the biggest things I can tell you that a lot of us are just oblivious to is you walk into a gas station bathroom and it has this 1-800 number. And everybody thinks this is like, oh, this is a number that people can use. Do you know that most of those flyers and numbers that are hung up in gas stations are put up by traffickers themselves? So you do not want to be using those numbers. I have run into victims. I actually ran into a lady who's a survivor from Southern Illinois who she decided to do her own little sting thing and called some of those numbers and then videotaped, and they were being put right back into the system. So you cannot trust those numbers if you're telling people to call those numbers in restrooms and things like that. So it's vast about how much lying and how much is just criminal out there. You got to use your discernment. And again, I'm just going to say follow up with prayers.
Stacy, my question is for you. I first met you because you invited me to your very first meeting in your basement of your apartment. And I think I said some things that shocked you that night that I had been dealing with as far as that young lady that I was helping. She was rescued from a satanic coven. Her father was the head of a national coven. I have not heard anything about that tonight. And I think it's a big part of this. I don't think that we understand the depth of the satanic part of this picture. I want to know if this panel, if Team America has anybody trained and willing to be on the panel as a spiritual warfare consultant. And it's a very big part of this. And if not, that's something I think, that's what I used for her. And I know there's several people that do use this. I know not everyone's going to agree that that's a necessary part of it, but I think it's important to mention that those people have ways of making people that they are using in their ritual sacrifices to disappear. And there's very high, intelligent, powerful people in those groups. So to
answer your question, Val, we're making connections all the time. Nobody on our team is specializing in deliverances and things like that, but we do know. Mark Reed's over here. I already acknowledged him earlier today, but Mark runs the Safe House. I told you, in Team Jesus, he has that ministry, but he does tons of deliverances because a lot of these, Annie can attest to this, come out of satanic families. And when they're coming out of satanic families, just like Michelle that we met back in May. So for some of you that were at my presentation in May, we had Michelle there. Michelle was born into a satanic family, forced to marry her cousin for breeding purposes only. I believe she had, 13 babies for breeding around there. All 13 were used in satanic sacrifice. So when we're talking about a level like that, this goes so deep, right? This goes so deep. For a lot of people, we're just trying to wake them up to the top level. But when you get way down there to the missing children that Sarah's talking about and that Heidi was talking about, most of them, if you went to J.J. Carroll, some of you here were at J.J. Carroll's event in Jefferson, Iowa. when we were there. Most of these kids that went missing in the United States were used not only for sex, and then when they've when they've run out of time on their use of them, a lot of them last about a year, and then they're physically not usable anymore. And then before they are dead, I hate to say this, but they use their organs and they drain their blood and they sell it. It's a commodity. Just like Sarah said, this is a commodity, so that's what they're doing. So if you want to peel back these onions in layers and figure it all out, but it goes so deep and so vast, but it all comes down to the enemy, Satan himself.
Well, I just want to preface my questions for Kathy. I was a CASA volunteer for 25 years, and I was on the Foster Care Review Board. I didn't see anything alarming. In my experience, we were keeping children from falling through the cracks, whether it was reunification, adoption, or termination. But I do believe it does happen, but there are good people in the system. And also my friend Tammy, she's fostered children as well. But I want to ask you, I saw in your book, I was looking through it, what was your experience with the CASA in your situation?
It was not good in my daughter's situation, but yes, thank you for being that. And I have heard from so many people in the system who were appalled at what had been done to my daughter. There were a lot of people whose careers were driven and affected by hers alone, and then finding out that there's others. So that is an internal change, I think, within the system that's very encouraging, and I appreciate you and thank you, for that. My experience with CASA, as far as where my daughter was concerned, wasn't good because national security was on her case. But ultimately, too, my daughter, since she was with Mark Phillips and me for 1 year before she went into the system, she did reclaim enough of her free thought to be able to make it through. And now I'm so proud of her. She is the most resilient, she's the most brilliant example of the resiliency of body, mind, and spirit. She is extremely intelligent and loving, and she's fun. She stays out in nature and loves animals and has a lot of hope for humanity because she knows the system is changing not only from within because of people she has seen and whose lives she touched, but also, because of people like you, because awareness is rising, and we have a long way to go for that system to clean up, though. So there's some places where it's not redeemable, and in the meantime, we just all need to stay aware, open safe houses, start making a difference wherever we can. So,
thank you, Kathy. So I think we have one more question, and we're going to close off the day. It's been quite a day.
I first have a comment. You all talked about getting involved. So anyone from Iowa, city council, school board elections are coming up, and if you want to be a candidate, your papers are due on Thursday, the 18th.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to put that out there. Second, I care about the education institution. I think we all know the harms of screens and technology. I'm concerned about the new push for AI in the schools and that AI meeting and some of the players at the table that were there at this, it was a week and a half ago. So you had like Bill Gates on one side. So can you speak to that? Because I think getting that to the kids could be nefarious and could be good, but if you could speak to that.
I just did a piece on.
Great question.
I'll just respond with one piece I did a couple years ago when I learned about Minga, which is essentially a social credit score in schools right now in public schools. Children are all on Chromebooks, okay, so they're already connected with a digital identity at school. Now Minga has been it's been in there for a while, and that is, I believe it's Google and it's Microsoft and it's all of these other clever, it's been a while since I've looked at the partners. But this essentially is an app where you get rewards for your behavior. You also use it as a tardy slip. You're scanning QR codes when you need to use the bathroom. You get, in some schools, a 5-minute limit to use the bathroom. And children are ranked with their score for all in the school to see. And what I'm seeing now, our parents are discussing, well, so-and-so who has the highest score, he's a real flunky. And we're thinking he scammed those points somehow. And this is what it's turned into. So they can see the students' names with their social, with their score, their Minga score. And they say it's to foster creative competition and to inspire them. Teachers love it because it keeps the students in line. I want everybody who has children in public schools today to ask your children questions, because a lot of parents are unaware. They usually give these apps, they have these apps for the children through their Chromebooks, okay? And they use their smartphones too. So avoid sending your children to school with smartphones, please. That's one way you can keep them away from this.
I'll attempt to answer your question. No, thank you. First of all, you saw the list of the top most powerful companies in the world. He has to work with them, okay? And I wouldn't jump to the conclusion that he's in bed with them because they're there, but he has to work with them. It runs our world. They're the most powerful companies in the world. They run all of our major corporations. And in order for our country to turn around, those companies need to turn around and get on board. And I don't, you know, that's why we have to hold the people who are in office accountable, because that's what we have to do. That's why we need to get the engineers and the people inside those companies to be pro-freedom people. It takes all of us, right? It takes more people. So that answer is more, I'm giving you more just kind of a context around it, because it's hard to know the answer. But he doesn't have a choice regardless of the situation, and we need those companies to turn around. The second part of it is having AI in the school. Now that's something that I've talked about. I've had educators, and we've had some deep conversations about this. And this is my opinion, and I think it's something that we're gonna have to grapple with as a society, of when is it that we have the kids learn AI? Because AI is a tool. It's also a means of atrophying our brains. So we need the children to develop critical thinking skills that an AI might take away from them. So we need to be smarter. It's something that educators and the adults in the room need to get together and seriously think about. Personally, I want my kids to be trained. My kids are both engineers, but I would want my kids to understand technology, but I would not introduce that type of stuff until a little later, personally. But that's something educators need to see. Adult educators who have some insight need to, because there's a lot that are snowed by stuff. They're out there. They're not awake to what's really happening. We need the people who are awake to what's happening to get involved in those conversations. Thank you for that question. That was really good.
It was a good question. I think we're going to get things buttoned up here. And I'll finish with, first of all, we're going to hang out. We'll hang out here as long as you want us to. If you got questions, you want to meet any of the panel members and have a discussion with them. We have the hall for a while yet. And I'm going to close this day off the same way I close off every Team Iowa meeting that we have. I have a book that I read from. It's called God Spoke to Me, and as you can see, it's well traveled because the cover and the back cover are gone because it goes in my backpack everywhere I go. And these are just little writings that this woman had, where she would literally have this conversation with God and she would write it down. And so this one is called Advance My Plan on Earth. Every time you stop and become consciously aware of me and listen to that still, small voice, you are helping to advance my plan on earth. You are in tune, in rhythm with the things that really matter in life. I am able to use you because in that state of awareness, you become my hands and feet. Life has a purpose. It becomes a joy and pleasure. Nothing is humdrum, dull, or boring. You can be in this state of awareness every second of every day. Just think of it. You need never be out of harmony with your surroundings or with those you contact when your mind is stayed on me. The me I'm referencing, of course, is God. I am always there. but you have free choice whether you wish to be consciously aware of me or not. It is simply up to you. With that, I say amen. And as I always say to the team, keep your head up and your eyes forward. Never bow to evil. Never relent. Always press into the fight. God is with us, and he will never forsake us. In the end, God always wins. We are here, all of us in this room, in this time and place, for a time just as this. We are at war. Walk boldly and fearlessly with Christ. Occupy the land. Align with the divine. Reclaim your birthright. Expand the kingdoms. Subdue the enemy. Mission forward, everybody. God bless. Thank you for coming. What's that? We get a picture. We have a picture of you guys? Get some pictures of all you guys.